Excuse me. Alright. Chugging along. We got Texas Chainsaw 3D. Or just Texas Chainsaw. Alright, so my opinion has changed on this film a little bit. I still think it's pretty good. Well, not pretty good. I think it's good. I think it's one of the better entries in the franchise, but watching it now, especially having watched the original, it's supposed to be a direct sequel to that, yes. And before you people, this one did it first. I'm just saying, but it's a direct sequel to the original, and this one did it first, followed by Halloween 2018 and Leprechaun Returns. And then now it's coming full circle because they're doing it again with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which, for God's sakes, give it a name other than why have a sequel with the same name as it just amazing. Anyway, this was at least a little bit different. Texas Chainsaw. Or if you saw it in theaters, Texas Chainsaw 3D. But yeah, so there's a lot of confusion with this film for me. It's very, especially rewatching again, having now watched the original, there's some things that don't add up. And some things that are very familiar about stuff that happened in this film that feel like it's been ripped off from other movies. And as we go along, you'll be informed of what movies are being ripped off. At least I'll try to remember to do it. We start off by showing clips from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all the best parts that you missed, everything. And I will comment that this is one of the better parts, but I did notice because Bill Moseley plays he was famous for playing Chop Top, by the way. He plays Drayton at the beginning of this. They cut in when they're showing flashbacks. They put him in the shot. You just have a quick, little thing of him instead of Jim Seedow, because you have to have the continuity of him. And we see Sally burst through the window and run off, and then we cut to right afterwards. Now, here's the first continuity error. Sheriff Hooper played by Tom Berry, who you may know from the Fast and Furious movies, the first two, and a couple other stuff, shows up, and as he shows up, there are a couple people running into the house. We only see a couple people. However, once they cut back into the house, there is a bunch of people. There's a woman with a baby. There's a cameo from Gunnar Hansen, the original Leatherface, which makes it all weirder that Leatherface is in the other room and yet Leatherface is there. As mentioned, Bill Moseley does play Drayton here. And there's some others in there. And where do they all come from? You can't count the two people running in very quickly as them. It doesn't make any sense. They're just there. It just... Drayton and Leatherface... I don't know why it took me long to figure it out. Drayton and Leatherface were the only ones left in the house after Sally burst out the window. So it makes no sense why all these people just showed up. But, so this gang of local townspeople led by Bert Hartman, show up. And they, when the sheriff says, we want Jed, send him out, he's going to do it. But then Bert and his posse show up and they start to throw Molotov cocktails in and set the place on fire. You can go away now. Yes. So, after the fire, two of the rioting townspeople The guy finds the woman with the baby, takes the baby, kills the woman, and then takes off. We then cut to 2013, and I'm pointing this out. This movie takes place in 2013. And we are following the baby, the family member of our serial killer, all grown up, at yes. And yes, so now she's all grown up and she's Alexander Daddario, who is 26. Do you see how this doesn't add up? Baby, taken in 1974, is somehow 26 years old in 2013. Either someone doesn't know their math, or she's very good looking for a 39-year-old. I should be 40 because, well, no, she's baby 30. I don't know. And now, supposedly, when they wrote the film, it was intended for it to take place in the 90s. However, that obviously got glossed over, and so we have it taking place in present day. And honestly, if you were to take out all the use of the modern day cell phones and just kind of throw in a couple of payphones, she does use a payphone, and there are some times that really seem like it's supposed to be like she uses a payphone, which in 2013 was very rare, you know? And, you know, she meets up with him. Like, she even goes to the sheriff instead of calling him on a cell phone. And there was one other thing I can't remember. Like, she goes all the way to Texas to meet with this lawyer guy instead of having this stuff sent to her in an email or stuff like that. I don't know. It just seems like you take out a few things and it could have worked as being taken place in 1993, but no, we gotta work in modern convenience stuff to it. So yeah, so we follow Heather, who works as a butcher in a local grocery store. And she talks to her friend Nikki, played by Tanya Raymond. She grew up. She is there, and then she gets called. She goes home and meets her boyfriend, played by Trey Songz. I don't know. And there she gets a letter notifying her that she, as a relative in Texas. This is the other scene. Instead of calling her parents on the phone or cell phone or anything, she goes all the way to their house. You think that my convenience wouldn't have to. You talk on the phone, even a regular house phone, you know. But yeah, she finds out about everything, mostly. And so she, along with her friends, head down to Texas because it would be Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie without a road trip, right? So they get down there and they see the dead armadillo, of course. And on the way there, they pick up a hitchhiker. And no, you can't count that. It's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. You can't rip it off. Go away. Sorry about that. So they pick up a hitchhiker. They pick up the hitchhiker. And they take him to this house where they meet the lawyer, played by Richard Riley, who's been in many things. His name was Farnsworth, which is my brother's last name. So he tells her, he stresses to her that she has to read a letter that Verna gave her. He gave him to give to her. And it's very important. Now, so we later find out that the letter is about Leatherface. He lives in the basement and everything. So why would this stupid ass lawyer let them go into the house? You think he would say, you have to read that letter right now before you go in the house. Read it right now. No, because she can't read the letter, because if she read the letter, her friends wouldn't die. Right? So we had no movie. Also, so at the beginning of this, when Heather and Nikki are talking, Nikki talks about how she's happy that Heather's boyfriend set her up with this guy, Kenny. But she never, like, Kenny comes with, but they never have any moment together. The whole time they're there, she's hitting on Heather's boyfriend. And it makes no sense. No sense. I don't know. So, anyway, they get there and they decide they need to get some supplies. So they go to the grocery store and leave the hitchhiker alone in the house. You don't know this guy, and you leave him alone in this nice, furnished, rich person house. Okay. So they go to the grocery store and they leave him behind. And while there, he goes down to the basement and finds the place of Leatherface, where slides the door open and it knocks him in the head. And, hey, I said this is not a ripoff. Get down. Go away. Sorry about that. It's very adamant. Anyway, so something I noticed at this grocery store in the middle of Texas, it's the same grocery store that Heather and Nikki were working in. It's literally the same place. They use the same grocery store twice, just a different aisle, but it's the same place. I swear to God. So they come back and the hitchhiker is of course gone. They can't find him. So they just decide that he took off. Right. So they start cooking dinner and everything, and Kenny finds the guy's backpack, and he gets murdered. And then he gets put on a hook. Don't even. Okay, so Kenny gets put on a hook, and yeah, he ends up dead. Meanwhile, during this whole thing, while Heather is, going around and everything, during this whole time, Nikki has lured the boyfriend away to seduce him in the barn, and it works. And I just don't get it. But she comes across Leatherface when she finds the dead body of Verna upstairs, and he, of course, tries to kill her, come after her. So she runs out the front door, falls down the steps, and then tries to yell for her friends. She's chasing after her. But then Leatherface comes into the barn and attacks Nikki and the boyfriend, to which Nikki responds with a shotgun saying, "Welcome to Texas, motherfucker." That makes no sense. He's from Texas. I don't know. But they knock him out, and then, not knock him out, but they kick him out. And it comes barreling through with the van. And what is, women aren't allowed to drive the van, I guess, because Kenny was driving, and she drives it in, but then as soon as boyfriend gets in, she moves to the back. That's the setup for something else. But she doesn't question why her boyfriend is in the barn with her best friend and his shirt's off. This cheating plotline goes fucking nowhere because this is about the end of it. There's this, and then car accident, the thing flips over. Boyfriend is killed off screen, and best friend Nikki is taken by Leatherface. Right? So during this, she gets to town and she alerts Sheriff Hooper, who is now with Bert, who wants to take it down. I should mention the deputy played by Scott Eastwood, and it's supposed to be a big twist later that he is the mayor's son. But the camaraderie they have at the beginning of this film, it's very obvious that they're related or know some very well, but it's got to be family relation, right? So, while the sheriff sends one of his men to the Sawyer house, Heather is alone with files that just detail everything that happened to the Sawyers back in 1973. Which again makes no sense because she's only 26, but okay. And we follow this police officer with his phone. His 2013 phone. You know, again, you could just switch it with a flashlight and it would have worked. But how's he going to be in contact with them? A fucking walkie-talkie radio. Hello. I mean, come on. Common fucking sense, people. But yeah, and he's going through, and as he's searching through, he finds Nikki in the icebox chest. You know what? I'm done with you. I think I killed it this time. I should mention at some point, it might even be before this, she does, you got one more ripoff. She does run through a fair where Leatherface comes across someone wearing a pig mask. Yeah, because this is Lionsgate. But, yeah, so Leatherface kills the deputy and Marvin, but the sheriff somehow doesn't, or the mayor somehow doesn't realize it. She sets up a meeting with Farnsworth to meet her at the local bar, where he tells her about Leatherface and everything. And Bert and his men show up and go after her, but she escapes. Although one of them does get a hold of her, she slashes him across the face and runs off, where she runs into Deputy Scott Eastwood, who of course is in on it, so he takes her back and they meet at the slaughterhouse. Now for this scene where she's strapped up, I heard she was actually supposed to be naked or topless, but there was a no nudity clause in her contract, even though she would eventually do nudity later, you know, in True Detective or whatever. You don't want to do nudity, that's fine. Was it necessary? Not really. I think the point of why her top had to be off, or at least exposed, was for that birthmark from the necklace. But I think having it like this, which, by the way, this shirt, wow, it holds up pretty well. They had she moves and stuff. Nothing flops around. It just keeps underneath the shirt that's open. That's not how button-up shirts work. Those things move around all the time. And she is like doing this. That's like the magic towel in. That's like when you watch a movie where you think there's going to be nudity, but it's a towel that's wrapped around it. It's a magic towel. Like the Rachel's towel in Halloween 4. That thing. Just saying. Like some kind of magic. Leatherface shows up in about the chainsaw hour before he notices the mark and takes the duct tape off. She says, "It's me, Heather. It's me, your cousin, Heather." That becomes a problem when you find out about the letter, when she reads the letter. How would he know her by the name Heather? And it says that Verna tracked her down, but Maybe he knows both names. Who knows? But so he's about to free her. Bert and the other guy, Ollie, I think his name is, show up, and she's able to get away, but comes back to help him because he knew me, he knows me, he remembered me or something like that, and she basically kills Ollie, and then Leatherface basically forces Bert to go into the meat grinder by coming after him with the thing, and the sheriff's witnessing this whole thing. And we get a call back to a line that he says, like, "Oh, you can't beat the good book," and like, so then he's like, "You can't beat the good book, Bert." Ooh, zing. And yeah, this film humanizes Leatherface more so than the remake does. We're supposed to cheer for the Sawyers in this, not trying. But do you hope we don't remember that they were cannibalistic killers in the first film? Something that we saw at the beginning of this film because you put scenes from the first film in this? I don't know. And so they go back to the house. And she reads the letter, and yeah, her real name is Edith Sawyer. And which is problematic. I guess Verna could have told Leatherface her real name, but who knows? So she's got to take care of him. As long as she takes care of him, everything will be fine. There is a mid-credit, post-credit scene where the two adoptive parents show up and are attacked by Leatherface. No one's killed, but it's just like, it's kind of funny. You can assume that he kills them, but yeah, this movie's fine. I'm gonna say it's the middle of the road for me because there are some good points in this. It becomes a typical slasher movie, maybe more so than the third one that was a typical slasher film. But the continuity errors are just, it's too much to ignore, really. Like, this is supposed to take place 40 years after the original, yet Heather's only 26 years old, and that doesn't add up. And like I said, you could have taken a few things out of this film, such as the modern day phones, the modern day cell phones. Like that, the biggest complaint with that is the scene with the cop in the mansion where he's got the cell phone and he's on a simultaneous call with Bert and the sheriff. And it's like, all you needed to do was have him hold a flashlight in one hand and the radio in the other. And I know that by combining that and making it a cell phone makes it easier for him to hold a gun up. There are guns with lights on them. I don't know about 93, but I mean, come on. How much harder would it be to... Was there no one in the writer's room that said, wait a minute, we've hired a 26-year-old actress to play a 39-year-old, and this film is taking place in 2013, we need to do something? No. They just ignored it. It's a headache, really, but yeah, it's just middle of the road for me. So yeah, one more left, and it's a prequel. But it's a prequel to the original, so I don't know how they're gonna... I haven't heard anything about this one. Like, at all? Really? No, not really. I don't think so. Other than there's some kind of misdirect in it. Like, they try to make you think Leatherface is one person when it's another person. You know, it's obvious who he is. That's the only thing I know. It's not really big. I haven't been spoiled or anything. They didn't tell me who it was, but... yeah, so I'm interested in how they would make a prequel to it, unless it's another one where it's like it was another bunch of kids that come across the Sawyers before the events of the first film, because you could say, that's where it ended, really, if that's, the police showed up right afterwards. But I don't know. We'll see. Until then, What are your thoughts on Texas Chainsaw 3D? In the comments below, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.